Tips and drills out on the range, brought to you by Cap Off Training.
Hi, welcome back to Tips and Drills on the Range. Today we're going to go over some stances. We're going to go over several different stances, and what we're going to try and do is just expose you to the possibility of different stances. There is no the way. There is just a way. You're going to have to work through it and find out what works best for you. First off, Jeff's going to start to demonstrate the Weaver stance. Jeff?
Weaver stance was invented by Deputy Jack Weaver of LA Sheriff Department. The reason he invented this stance, and nobody knew till afterwards, that he actually had an injury that he couldn't extend his arms. So he invented his own stance so he could shoot properly. So here's the stance going. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to start drawing my weapon. I'm going to step back with my strong foot, put my elbow in my left elbow in my hip, my rib cage, and then bring up the gun. You can see both arms are bent. And then I'm gonna bring my gun up to my eye to get the sight picture. This is basically the modified, or the full Weaver stance here. As you can see, it's kind of unconventional for modern day use, but it worked for him, and people started copying him because he shot so well doing this. And you can see I'm leaning forward a little bit. My elbows are still bent in, and this is the Weaver stance.
That's great depiction, Jeff. So now they've also come across with what they call a modified Weaver stance. And Jeff's going to show you the modified Weaver. Jeff?
The modified Weaver became more popular because you actually can extend in your arm, lock your arm and your wrist. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and draw my weapon again. I'm going to step back with my strong foot again. I'm going to, and you see, basically the only thing difference is I'm putting my right foot back. I'm locking my right arm, strong arm, my wrist, but my left elbow is still bent. The weapon's still being brought up. I'm leaning forward into the weapon. Keeps me on balance. I'm not going to fall over. And that's the modified Weaver stance. Okay. Also, this stance kind of goes with the combat stance. If I'm fully extended, that way I can move in combat back and forth. But I'll show you that in a second. Yeah, this is the modified Weaver stance right here. So.
So now what we're going to step into is we're going to show you a couple of variations of the isosceles stance. First, we're going to start off with Jeff showing us his version of the isosceles.
Okay.
Jeff?
Again, I'm drawing my weapon. I'm going to step out a little wider, shoulder width apart, my feet. I come out. I'm going to push my weapon out and get a good stance. You can see knees are a little bit bent. My arms are both straight and locked. And that's the good combat stance. That's the way I was taught. Some people do a little bit different, which Mike will show you in a second. But this is my combat stance.
Now the isosceles stance, I have a little bit of a different analogy to use. If you've ever played any kind of sports, we'll start off with basketball, and you wanted to throw that free throw. They're going to have you stand feet shoulder width apart. You're going to put a little bend into your knees. You're going to lean a little bit forward. You're going to dribble that ball, and you're going to throw that free throw. I missed. If you're playing baseball and you grab a baseball bat, you're going to stand feet shoulder width apart. You're going to have a little bit of bend in those knees, and you're going to be holding that bat. Doesn't look much different from holding that bat to standing there with your free throw shot. If you were a football player and you played defense and you played linebacker, you're standing in this exact position. We call this a sports position. Well, guess what? Shooting is a sport. So we're going to have you stand into a sports position to be able to stand into this isosceles. As you come out, you got the bend in your knees. You've got your feet shoulder width apart. You've got your shoulders, head, shoulders, knees, and toes all in line. And as I was taught, to put a slight bit of bend into my torso. So when I'm actually standing into this position, you'll look at how Jeff was a little more upright than I am. I have a tendency of coming down kind of in a more of a squatted position and pushing forward. This came from the law enforcement end of things, where we're wearing body armor. As we're wearing the body armor, this gives us a deflected platform. So on the unfortunate day that we do have to take a round into our body armor, it allows the body to absorb that energy, thus giving a downward deflection of the round that comes in, rather than standing upright and trying to absorb all that energy in. So that's where you'll see a lot of the law enforcement that come forward, and we have a more pronounced forward stance as we come through with that.
And Mike, get back in your stance there. I'm going to show you why he does that. I can actually push him, and he's not going to fall over backwards, okay? It gives him more stability on the ground. He's more balanced.
But if I'm standing more upright and I take that same type of push, go ahead and give me the push that you gave me just before, I'm not nearly as on balance. So you're giving yourself a balanced platform to stand on. You're giving yourself a stable platform to stand on. And the more square and balanced platform that you present, the more stable the platform is for you shooting. So those are just 3 different forms of stances. Once again, there is no the way, it's just a way. And these are kind of the tips and drills that we're going to offer up to you throughout the course. So until next time, we'll see you on the next tips and drills.
Thank you.
And that was Tips and Drills with Cap Off. Proceed to the next module to continue the course.